Hello and welcome to show number 72 of the 1420 Sports Podcast for beer with a sports talk and a whole lot more. Still unofficially brought to you by Bud Light, the beer that never fills you up and will never let you down. I'm your host, Brent Radlinski, recording from the basement studios of Yankee Tavern North in Lethbridge, Alberta. The Calgary Flames made a coaching change this week, bringing back Daryl Sutter to lead that uninspired Calgary team. I'll give my views on that. The hockey world lost their hockey dad on Thursday night as Walter Gretzky passed away at the age of 82. We'll talk hockey moms and dads and my hopes for the future of hockey. The New York Yankees have had some of the most legendary players ever. So much so they can have a Mount Rushmore Light. I'll give you my thoughts on who's on the Mount Rushmore, plus who would be on the Mount Rushmore Light. And to finish off the show, I'll have my weekend top 5 edition. This week we'll do the top 5 biggest upsets in sports history. Sit back, grab a beer, and as always, let's get into her. So just as Dave and I got done recording the show on Thursday night, the Calgary Flames made a coaching change, firing Jeff Ward, relieving him of his duties at a strange time. They just beat the Ottawa Senators 7-3, I think it was, and rehired Daryl Sutter. He must have been done farming or ranching. Calving season must be over at the Sutter Ranch because he's coming out of semi-retirement. I guess he was still an advisor for the Anaheim Ducks, I think. But Sutter's back behind the bench. He won't be there tonight when the Flames take on the Edmonton Oilers, which might be a bloodbath, I'm thinking, because the Oilers, the way they got dismantled by the Leafs, wasn't good. But anyways, we won't get into that a whole bunch. But as we discussed on Tuesday night, I think it was, the coaching carousel continues, and only 30 to 35 guys apparently can coach the National Hockey League, because to bring a guy out of who's been around for a long time, Sutter's a good coach. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying that anything about that, but it just seems odd. Maybe it's a shake-up the Flames needed. Underachieving team, to say the least. They haven't been very effective for a lot of years. They haven't had much playoff success since Sutter was there. The 2004 Stanley Cup Finals, where they lost in Game 7. They should have won in Game 6. The no goal, the Jelana's goal, and everything else that clearly crossed the line and changed the way replay's done. But anyways, Sutter coming back, it's a throwback. But he is a smart hockey guy. He does use analytics a lot more than people think. He's just a crash and bang of the Sutters back when they played in Lethbridge back in the early 80s and the 70s. It's not like that. And ironically, when the is that the right term? I don't even know. The Flames bring back a Sutter to coach hockey when Youngblood was on TV this morning. What an awesome hockey movie that is. If you haven't seen it for a long time, or if you've never seen it, tune into Youngblood. It's a great hockey flick. Pretty fictional, but it's a movie, whatever. But anyways, I don't think that the Flames, their coaching staff is the problem. Changing a coach every year. This is their 5th coach in 6 years. There was the Bill Peters problem last year with the abuse allegations and everything else that occurred. But the Flames' problem is the players on their team. And having a chat with my mom about this the other day, she's a huge Flames fan. She feels that the problem is the personnel, starting with Johnny Gaudreau, how they really haven't done much since Gaudreau's got there. They gave him a big deal, big contract after his 2nd season. It's just how it works. But they haven't done a darn thing since he's got there. You can't put it all on him, but they underachieve and they're undermotivated. It seems like they're collect paychecks more than anything. And it's just, they don't really do what it takes to win on a night in, night out basis. Monahan's a passenger a lot of nights. It just seems that they have a lot of passengers all the time. Firing a coach right now didn't make a bunch of sense. They're a 500 team with their goaltender out. He's out for, might be coming back next couple of games, but he missed a handful of games. So getting rid of a coach, I don't know if that's the deal. Like, you can only motivate these guys so much, but when they're just collecting paychecks and it just doesn't seem that they have enough motivation. Maybe the Sutter's the guy to come in and give them motivation they need and get them a kick in the pants a little bit. Guys like Lucic, he'll benefit from it a little bit, might get a little more playing time. Lucic is too slow. You watch him around the ice, he's just too slow for the league now. But he played for Sutter in LA. Sutter does have a winning pedigree, winning the 2 cups with the Kings. So it can't hurt to bring in a guy like that. It's going to definitely shake things up. And most times when there is a coaching change, teams do find a way to win a couple of games. They rally around the new coach and everything else. But it just seems that it might be. I thought the Flames would be better, but their core hasn't done much. Like you think about, like I said earlier, on Goudreau, Monahan, Backlund, Sam Bennett, who's been belly aching, and he's a healthy scratch the other night, belly aching about playing time, and the like. Play better. These guys just need to play better. Kachuk, I think he's going to get a little bit of a lift. Sutter will let him run wild a little bit. A little bit of motivation might help, and everything else. It can't hurt. He's an old school, in your face kind of guy, the kind of player Kachuk is. I think that's going to help his game a lot. He's been struggling a lot this season. He hasn't really done a whole bunch. I think it's going to help guys like that. I just don't know if they got the horses to do it. Like you got to look there. Other than Toronto, that Northern Division's pretty wide open, and you got to think Winnipeg's going to make the playoffs. So there's 2 spots for the rest of the team. Vancouver's awful, as we discussed. Ottawa's not doing anything anytime soon. So you got to think that Calgary has a shot to win a couple rounds if they can put all these things together. But I don't know if they got the horses. Their goaltender has to be great, and that's the biggest thing with them. That if they don't get the goaltending that they need, they're not going to do anything. Losing guys like Brody, who's flourishing in Toronto now, I think that hurt. You just, I don't know. I just think that they don't have the guy. Markstrom's got to be better. Is it time to maybe get? I mean, everybody wants new defensemen, obviously, every year, and you just think that they just don't. If Sutter can't do it, you don't like. Is Treliving, was this a desperation move by him, bringing Sutter back, getting him off the ranch to come in and coach the team? It might be, but Treliving's got to be on his last legs too, because he put this team together. As we discussed last week on the show, these GMs who put these teams together, they're the ones to blame. The attitude of these players, as Dave brought up, they're different now, and they make so much money that these players can dictate what they want on a nightly basis and dictate who the coach is. Like you just like Giordano, maybe it's time to put him to pasture. I don't think he'll be back next year. I think he's a prime candidate to go to, if he doesn't retire, he's a prime candidate to go to a team like Seattle, get picked up in the expansion draft. And we talked about the Seattle Kraken on last show. I just feel that maybe Calgary just needs a wholesale change right from the front office. That includes Treliving right on through. They have not done a darn thing for a lot of years, and they're giving these guys a good chunk of change. And you want to take advantage of the money that they spent. Like Kachuk was a big dollar deal. They had to. Their goaltender Markstrom, he was he was wanted by a lot of teams, and he chose to go to Calgary for $6 million a year. I mean, I'd go for $6 million a year too as well. I think that's what he got was 6. Doesn't really matter. It's more than I'll ever see, but you just don't think that they got the horses. And it's a desperation move. I think it can't hurt the Flames to have Sutter there. I just can't see it helping a bunch. I think they might get because he won't be there for a couple of games. And he did say that he wanted there's some unfinished business from the 2004 Stanley Cup run that Sutter wants to pick up on and maybe redeem himself a little bit and see if he can win a championship. Getting out of that North Division, with Toronto being the juggernaut they are, is going to be tough. I know we're kind of stroking the Leafs a little bit here, but they just don't seem like they're going to be challenged that much in the North Division. They dismantled Edmonton like no one's business this past week, and I can't see the Flames with the horses that they got doing it. Their core guys aren't good enough. The high expectations that Calgary have, maybe they're higher than they should be. Maybe we're giving too much value to Goudreau and Monahan, Giordano, Bennett, Kachuk, and the likes. Maybe they just don't got the secondary scoring that every team needs. I mean, every time I make a prediction on this show, every time I say something, it seems that the team comes out and puts together a stellar performance that night or the next night that they play. It seems it's nonstop actually. How I can make predictions and the complete opposite happens. Opposite George on Seinfeld. I hope Sutter does well. I like his post-game interviews. They're short and sweet, and a little bit of humor with the little things he said. And I growing up watching the Broncos, I watched most Sutters play when they were here. Having a Sutter in hockey is not a bad thing. And remember, Sutter, he traded his own kid at one point. So he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. Maybe he's going to come in and he'll kick Monahan and Gruder in the ass and get him moving a little bit. This move can't hurt the Flames. I just don't know how much it's going to help. Like I said, this core just, to me, isn't good enough. Their defense isn't strong enough. Giordano's in the back nine of his career. It's up to the players now. And I think that finally Treliving is saying this, okay, you got rid of another coach, but having this coaching carousel year after year with these new players, changing systems, that's got to be on the GM more than anything. Because you would think that a team, I don't know how the inside works, but having a team having to adjust year in, year out with the new coach every year, because the team is constructed one way and certain personalities that's who they are. They're grown men, kind of. And having these guys together all the time and molding a team, you have to have some kind of way of doing it. Sutter might be the guy to do it. I just don't personally see it. I hope for my mom's sake that they do, because the Calgary, they have been long. My mom's been a long time Flame fan. I followed them a little bit back in the 80s when they were winning a little bit, and everybody for some reason hated the Oilers back in the day. But I really hope that the Flames can turn it around a little bit and make the North Division a little bit more watchable, because right now it's getting to a point where, geez, they're playing again, and it's just there's no real action, and Toronto's just run away with the division, like we said. Go Flames, go! I guess we'll see what happens in the next coming days when the Sutter gets off the ranch and the quarantine, the COVID stuff's all done. He said he has unfinished business, and the fiery passion the Sutters had on the ice, and a lot of them who went on to coach the National Hockey League, it shows a lot, and maybe this might help. It's been a long time since he was there. He was 2010. He was relieved of his duties as the GM. He hasn't coached, I think, since, I want to say 06, 07 is when he left his post behind the bench. But this man did the first year when he went to LA, took over a team that was struggling, eked in the playoffs and won themselves a Stanley Cup. Jonathan Quick was kind of the story behind that cup, but you think that it's a start. I mean, like, maybe Backstrom's the guy or Markstrom's the guy that can be the Jonathan Quick of the 2021 season. Get some goaltending, and you can get a new coach and a little bit of life into a team. It can't hurt. I don't see it. I don't see them. They're a 500 team now. You see, I don't know. See what happens tonight when they play the Oilers. Like I said, I think the Oilers are going to come out real snarly tonight. McDavid, he's been held pointless for 3 games, and this might be a 6 or 7 point night like they had a couple weeks ago when the Oilers dismantled the Flames on a Saturday night. It was bad, and I see that happening again tonight. Bet against me what I just said, because I guaranteed that'll be the winner of the night. Go Flames. I hope you guys can change things around, because you definitely need to. 500 ain't going to cut it, and you have a chance here, because the rest of the division is falling behind a little bit. Just as we were going off the air the other night, Walter Gretzky, Canada's hockey dad, passed away at the age of 82. Complications from Parkinson's, and that's the average age that people pass away. Same age as our dad passed away, 82 years young. Pretty sad day for Canadian hockey. Walter Gretzky, the Canada's hockey dad, always had a smile on his face. It seemed always had a friendly thing to say on TV, and whenever you seen him, he was waving and smiling. He kind of liked the quasi fame that he had. I think it was great to see him in the Team Canada jackets for the Olympics when Wayne was in charge of those teams or playing on those teams. It's like, I know I'm calling him Wayne. Just a great ambassador for the game of hockey in this country. Everybody knows somebody who's been in the Gretzky home to see the shrine downstairs, I guess you would call it. A friend of mine, I haven't talked to him in quite a few years, but he had the opportunity to go down there, and Walter just invited him in to say, hey, come take a look if you want. It was the pride that man had in his son. How couldn't you be? The pride that man had in his son you could just see it, and probably his other sons as well too, Brent and Keith, and his sister, I can't remember her name, but the pride he had in his family was second to none. The man worked. He retired in 1991 from Bell Canada before Bell started laying everybody off. But anyways, that's another story for another day. But you just seem like a good guy, a good old fashioned, hardworking guy that never had a bad thing to say and always had a smile on his face. And I like we were talking about this last night, me and the producer, about how the old guys, how they would have their hair slicked and right at the bitter end. Like our dad was the same way. And Walter and all the old fellas, how like, a little bit of Brill cream will do you, a little dab will do you, I guess. And it brings a smile to my face. You see that. And Walter right at the bitter end, always smiling, always waving to people and taking time to shake some hands and everything else. I was reading up on a few things in the last couple of days about Walter Gretzky that you just can't fathom how a man that famous would be so grounded. And maybe that was the success, that part of the reason why Wayne had so much success, so grounded and so level-headed, that just made things easy and made things easy to talk about. Just and there was a great story about he was leaving the rink in Brantford one day after watching a bunch of, I don't know, 6 or 7-year-olds play hockey, or 7 or 8-year-olds. Like, the story, it doesn't matter if you're a bantam or midget. Anyways, there was a kid putting his hockey equipment in the trunk of his dad's car, and he was crying because they'd lost. And Wayne or Walter went back into the rink and grabbed the coach. Hockey's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to create good memories, not bad ones. So Walter wrangled up both teams that played that day, plus whoever else wanted to, and there was a parade of people going back to his place, and every kid had the opportunity to try on Wayne's skates or his gloves or his jersey, and then hoist a Stanley Cup that the players would get when they won a Stanley Cup, a replica one that they would take home, and the kids got to get pictures with it and all that stuff. And it's such a heartfelt story, and how it's so, like, that's what the game is supposed to be like. And I feel that it's not on a lot of times. I know I harped on this a few weeks back, but I want to reiterate that a little bit, that that's what hockey's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about fun, not about what academy your kid plays for, or what tier that the team is on, or what stick they got, or all the other stuff that seems to be going with hockey a lot now. And we're losing that grassroots stuff that Walter Gretzky adored so much, and going to the rink and having a rink in the backyard. I'm sure I'm like, I don't know, but I'm sure he pressured, in a way, his kid to play hockey, and taught him things, and coach. He may have coached him hard. Who knows? I don't know. But teaching your kid the right way, and to be polite and to be grounded, it goes a long ways with coaching staffs, with managers, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of kids, a lot of parents actually don't even know this, that if there's a kid that's not as good, but the parents are problematic, sorry, I worded that wrong. If there's a really good kid and the parents are problematic, the kid that's not as good, who doesn't have problematic parents, they're going to make that team. Parents can go a long ways with teaching their kids the right way to be, and how to act properly. And if a parent could act with an ounce of the humility that Wayne or Walter Gretzky had on a night in, night out basis with his son, maybe that's something to look at. That if Walter can be humble, his son was the greatest hockey player ever, and that's not disputable. I'm not taking shots at the other guys, and like Lemieux and Orr and everything else. Wayne Gretzky's the best hockey player ever. Like, not talent wise, we've discussed that. The McDavid's obviously the fastest, all that stuff. But Gretzky, if you can be humble, if Walter Gretzky can be humble, so can you. Okay, parents, take a long, hard look at that. The greatest player ever, his dad was so humble and didn't brag, and was proud of his son, proud of him. Even Mark Messier said that, like, when those Oilers teams were winning, they had a bad game. Some nights they wouldn't win, and they lost Stanley Cup. Messier said that Walter Gretzky had a way that he made people feel good about themselves, and he was even being a hockey dad to NHL guys when they were in the NHL. Heard other stories about Walter at the Molson Canadian Hockey House during the Olympics. He'd be grabbing the moms from the Canadian players from that were sitting there after the games and stuff. He danced with every one of the moms, having a good time. and just enjoying being a quasi celebrity and the smile on his face. And I hope that hockey parents can, they're laying him to rest as I speak right now. I hope hockey parents or baseball parents or whatever it is can take a look at how Walter was and just kind of go back on what you may have done that you might be a little embarrassed about, or what you may, how you could do things better. And I think we could all take a page when it comes to sports and how to be a proper parent or a fan or whatever. Take a page out of Walter Gretzky's book and maybe follow that a little bit. I know you can't change who you are, like a wholesale change, but I think we need to take a step back with, like I said, all these academies and everything else and what tier and all that stuff. Take a step back and notice how Walter would have, like, what would Walter do? WWWD, I guess, right? Because man, that guy, he had every reason to brag a little bit, and but he was so humble, stayed in the same house right to the bitter end. Could have moved anywhere. Wayne would have moved him wherever he wanted to, right? Wayne's got more money than most will ever see, but never did. And he just stayed home. Stay humble, parents, because I think it's very important that you do that, and that'll keep your kid grounded, and better things will happen for your child, and they won't be the millennials, and you don't have to be a Karen or what's that? We can't talk about the what the man's called. I can't remember what they call them. Dickhead. Dickhead's the only way to put that. But take a page from Walter's book, live that way a little bit, because I think we all need to do that a little bit more than we ever have, because it's good. Once hockey and baseball are back going again, full bore soon, because vaccinations are flying, it's all going to come back to normal. So you're going to see a lot more. I think we might see the worst in people coming soon, because a year was lost for these kids in hockey. And I think there's going to be a lot more of a push with parents and coaches and academies and all the stuff. We're going to see some pretty awful stuff in the very near future, because of the year that was lost. So parents are going to feel the need to press a little bit more and push a little bit more than they have in the past. I think we're going to see some pretty ugly stuff coming up, and I hope I'm wrong, but I see it, and it's not going to be pretty. So parents, please, 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 please take a page out of Walter Gretzky's book. Be humble, be kind, smile, and there's a good chance your kid isn't going to be the next Wayne Gretzky. And if that man could be humble and do things the right way, so can you. All right, there ain't nothing better, I'll tell you what, than being at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, watching a walk-off or two like we did a couple years back with I was there with my sister and my brother, and hearing Frankie singing this. There's nothing better. Love it. Can't wait to get back. Hopefully this year. Who knows if we're gonna be allowed to. But anyways, sing it, Frankie. God, old Blue Eyes, like me and Frankie, something in common. Anyways, the New York Yankees have obviously a long storied history, and I know some of you don't like hearing the Yankee talk, and I get it. But I don't know. I'll get into some other teams. I got some plans for the next weekend show and the weekend after, as we get closer to the baseball season. But we can do the Mount Rushmores of other teams. I think we discussed some of those already. But the Yankees have such a storied history and iconic players for such a long, long time, and 27 world championships. Yeah, a lot of them, there weren't many teams that make the play. Anyway, we won't get into that, because I think that's the weakest argument is championships. They don't mean anything now. It's to look into the future, not the past. But we'll look into the past a little bit and do the Mount Rushmore, or the Mount Rushmore Light is what I'm going to call it, of the New York Yankees. The Mount Rushmore, I think, is somewhat indisputable. There might be a person or two you could change in and out, but Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, and Joe DiMaggio, to me, those are the greatest players in Yankee history. You might be able to change out DiMaggio with one of the guys I'm going to name on the Mount Rushmore Light. But to me, that's undisputable. I don't think we'll get much pushback on that. If you do want to push back on that a little bit, you're more than welcome to contact me on our social media accounts, or the email at 1420sports@gmail.com. Like we said before, you got to spell out 1420. I know it's a lot for sports fans to spell that much and that many letters at once. It's tough, but it's the brand that we chose here back in August. Anyways, like I said, the Yankees and their storied history. there's wow, like the players that have gone through and got a little bit of posted this yesterday on the social media accounts and got quite a bit of feedback actually. And there were 2 or 3 that were guarantees. A couple that, well, I don't know if they're around long enough. Old friend of mine, a baseball fan from way back, Kent Hare, he thought that Reggie Jackson, the straw that stirs the drink, should be on there. Mr. October, the 3 home runs and everything else. Reggie's close, but he wasn't there long enough, I don't think, to usurp the other guys. So Kent, thank you for your feedback, but you're wrong. Reggie's not there. And no one loves Reggie like Reggie. If it was up to Reggie, he'd tell you who should be in the Mount Rushmore, not just the Mount Rushmore Light. But anyways, talk about the Mount Rushmore. Right over my shoulder here, there's one guy, and this is indisputable, the greatest closer of all time, number 42, the last guy to wear 42 actually after the league retired, Jackie Robinson. Mariano Rivera. What can be said about Mo that hasn't been said already? Man, oh man, that guy was so automatic. There's a funny stat that I've seen it. More people have walked on the moon, allegedly, because I still got my thoughts about that whole deal, the walking on the moon crap. But more people walked the moon than scored runs on Mariano in the playoffs, 12-11. So that's kind of just a stat there. That's quite unbelievable. Best closer ever, 652 saves. I was fortunate enough to see him once. Gave up a home run in the 9th in a closing situation. Ended up getting the win on a walk-off fashion, anyways, against the Boston Red Sox. But I was fortunate to watch that. 0.70 ERA in the playoffs, just automatic. He came out, the Enter Sandman came on, Metallica song. And what can you say? Mariano, just the way he acted with the class and dignity, just fantastic. Number 42. Some people will say, well, he was limited playing time. So can you put a closer in the top players of all time? Yes, you can. Mariano, he had a job. That was his job to do, and he did it better than anyone has ever done it ever before. Will those numbers ever be duplicated? Who knows? The thing about Mariano, how he did it, he didn't throw hard. He threw that cutter down the knees, broke bats all the time, busted guys inside. Mariano was just so automatic, and the Steinbrenners and the Yankees were going to give up on him at one point. He was a starter, and he went to the bullpen. The rest is history. So number 42, 5-time World Series champion, 2019 Hall of Famer, Mariano Rivera is he gets a place on the Mount Rushmore Light. Second guy I'm going to put on there over my other shoulder here, the captain. What can you say about Jeter? Man, oh man, he didn't have the greatest skills. He was sure he wasn't the best defensively. Didn't win any MVPs, but the intangibles, the competitiveness that he had, the moments, the way he'd step up in big games. Mr. November, Dave Van Robe's favorite shortstop. It's quite crazy. The numbers that he actually had, career .310 hitter, and the numbers that he put up with the Yankees, first in hits, most game played, most stolen bases, on and on and on. And he's Derek Jeter. I mean, that should say enough right there. Just his Rolodex, I guess, or his dating profile is enough to put him in in any kind of Hall of Fame. But Jeter was the best. Saw him play a few times. Went to Derek Jeter Day. They against the Kansas City Royals. They ended up losing that game, but his speech was fantastic. And then a few weeks later, on his last game at Yankee Stadium, getting that base hit to score a run against the Baltimore Orioles. 5-time world champion, going to go in the Hall of Fame. Was supposed to 2020, but the vid hit the baseball world pretty hard. They didn't have the ceremony. They're going to have it this year. Him and Larry Walker going in, but Jeter definitely he gets in. 3,400 hits in his career. 3,000, of course, was a home run off David Price. The Yankees own David Price badly for some reason, and it's mesmerizing to me how a guy can year after year just get owned by a team like that when it's different players. It's just something in the guy's head. But Jeter's definitely on the 5-time world champion. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore Light of the for the New York Yankees. The next two we got a little bit tight. So many good players, but I'm going to put Mr. Quotable himself, Yogi Berra, the Yogiisms. No one goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Make sure you go to people's funeral. They won't go to yours. All the Yogiisms, that gets him on there alone. But Yogi, man, that guy had a good career. 10 World Series champions, 3-time MVP. And the years he didn't win the MVP, he was the top 5 of voting. Manager, great player, great ambassador for the game. Yogi Berra, great catcher. He'd still read something a while ago, well, years ago now, that he was when they first brought replay into Major League Baseball. He said he wished they had that back when he played, because he still says that Jackie Robinson was out at home plate in the World Series when Robinson stole home. Yogi swears up and down that Robinson was out, and he wishes there was replay back in the day. So Yogi, he's right there. 17 years, 385 home runs, not a lot compared to today's standards. 23 a year average. That's good for a catcher, man. If you can get that off your starting catcher nowadays, your team's well on its way. So that helps. Getting any offense from your catcher. Great defensive catchers they're not everywhere, but you get a great defensive catcher that can also put 20 home runs a year. That helps your cause a lot, and then hence the reason why the Yankees probably won 10 World Series in Yogi's tenure there with the boys down in the Bronx. Last guy I'm going to put in, Whitey Ford, the chairman of the board, just passed away last year. Still holds the record. Born in New York City, actually, number 16, Whitey Ford, born in the city. What can you say? Still has the most wins in Yankee history, 236, 106 career record. Took 2 years off for military service in the Korean War. That still boggles my mind how that happened, how guys would leave and come back. And it's astonishing how that wouldn't happen today. It's obviously different time, different era in the draft and everything else. For the thing you didn't really have a choice but to go. Not sure how much military combat Whitey Ford got into, but the chairman of the board, beloved at Yankee Stadium right to the bitter end, just a great ambassador for the Yankees, loved by all. Chairman of the board, he's 2.75 career ERA. Great pitcher, clutch guy, had the most wins or the most appearances till Mariano took that record over for the playoffs for the Yankees, and which is crazy because they only played one series back then, whereas Mariano got divisional series, wild card games, LDS, LCS, and everything in the World Series. For Whitey Ford to hold that record for so long and the most wins in Yankee history in the playoffs, it goes to say how successful they were. And that kind of those stats are astonishing. To a 2.75 career ERA, that's unheard of. Guys aren't doing that nowadays. And then the how many wins? I know wins aren't a stat anymore now. It's just innings pitched, because all you're just doing is get you're eating innings now is all they try to do in baseball. There's no complete games or anything anymore. They're still few and far between when it happens. It's a headline. Back in the day, that's just what you did. You pitched the entire game. When you started, you expected to finish. Whitey Ford, he's my number 4 head on the Mount Rushmore Light. Man, you put those 4 guys in any other franchise, they're probably on the main Mount Rushmore, not the Mount Rushmore Light. You could probably interchange 1 or 2 here and there with Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, and DiMaggio, but I don't think there's much debating the Mount Rushmore Light. If you want to debate it, get back to me on the 1420 social media accounts. We're on YouTube now. I'll put this one up later on. It's kind of fun to watch them a little bit. I noticed that my reading glasses are kind of hiding my baby blues behind on the reflection from the TVs. The San Diego Padres, I got them on playing the Dodgers right now. Trevor Bauer's first spring training appearance. He looks good. Got the Penguins and the Flyers. They're tied at 3. Islanders are blowing up Buffalo. Who doesn't blow up Buffalo? What a horrible franchise that is. If anybody else wants to get on the bandwagon with me and gripe to Apple about not only not have Major League Baseball on it on the old Apple TVs, you can no longer play YouTube or stream YouTube to the original Apple TVs. I think there's got to be something done about this. It's a travesty to the entertainment industry, I think, because now that we're on YouTube, I was hoping you guys could see my smiling face on the big screen now and then. If you want to watch, not just on your phone or your device or your laptop, put it on stream it to your TV if you have an Apple TV or whatever it is, because it's not right the way they can just do this without warning. I think it's crap. But anyways, that's my list. I hope you guys agree with it. I hope there's some disagreement. Get back to me on the social media accounts. I really appreciate the banter back and forth, because it's a lot of fun. It's part of the reason why we do it. We'll leave this segment with a little more Frankie Sinatra. All right, just like to thank Jim for the backing track, the 1420 podcast. Jim's our musical guy here. They've been on the show a couple of times. I'm going to have him on in the future. He's our basketball expert. Anyways, Jim, thanks for the backing track this week for this week's top 5 list. I know me and Dave touched on this not too long ago, or it could have been a long time ago. I don't know. I don't keep track of this stuff, but upsets in sports and how it you don't remember some of them, or you don't forget some of them. Sorry, you don't remember. Nice tongue, Brent. Anyways, you don't forget some of these things, where you were watching it, and then how you tune in, especially nowadays, how the power of the media and social media and everything else, and phones and text messages and everything else. And hey, turn the channel of this. You'll never believe what's happening. And imagine what it would have been like back in the 90s and when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, and if the text messages weren't because you do, I wonder who's watching this now. You hit a few buttons and it goes out there and it's broadcast to the world. Except if you have Apple TV and it turns into a wreck. What Apple TV pisses me off. But anyways, I don't want to dwell on that too much. But upsets in the world of sports happen on a daily basis. A win here, game 62 of a season, where the Kansas City Royals beat the Houston Astros for whatever reason, get one win out of 3. It's an upset, and whatever. Or the Ottawa Senators might win a game. It's an upset. But these upsets I'm talking about are the ones that shake the foundation of sports, and you just go, how did that just happen? And what's going on here? And that should never have happened. I bet 1,000,000 to 1 bets and everything. There's no way this would happen until I bet on it. It's a train wreck. But anyways, start with number 5. I remember watching this game, and I was I used to watch college basketball a lot more than I do now, and I'm trying to get back into a little bit this year. I got no Apple TV, so I'm watching a lot of different things. But I remember the UNLV Running Rebels in the early 90s, 1990, 91. They were unstoppable. At one point, they had a 45-game winning streak. They were in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament, the Final Four, obviously, and the Duke Blue Devils, who was my team. I follow winners. I know I'm one of those guys, but the Duke Blue Devils could never get over the hump. The likes of Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, and then there was a freshman that came in by the name of Grant Hill. Just fun to watch. And the Duke Blue Devils, the Cameron Crazies, you watch those games on TV and how enthusiastic and the fans would get just crazy in that place. And I kind of drew that to it drew me to them to watch that. It was so fun to watch. And I didn't think that watching this, that Duke had any chance of beating UNLV, that with Larry Johnson, just the way that they just ran, and they were so good. And Coach Jerry Tarkanian, he was a bit of arrogance to him, how they would they had on the 45-game winning streak, they would think 33 or 34 of their wins were by double digits. Just phenomenal squad that they had. Going into that game, didn't give Duke much of a chance. Of course, Duke ended up winning that game 79-77. They were down at the half. Quite the game. I remembered. I was actually doesn't matter. I'll tell that story another day, but it was quite a funny where I was directly after that game. It was I was an actor for a little bit, anyways. Well, I was an actor on the small stage in Fort McLeod. But anyways, that's another story for another day, like I said. But that's my number 5 pick, Duke over the UNLV Running Rebels in the NCAA championship in 1991. Next, soccer's a sport that I don't give much pay much attention to. I just find I don't know enough about it, and I didn't play it enough as a kid to get through to grow any passion about it. To where David, he played it, so he's got a passion for it. I never played it. My niece plays it quite competitively. She's tells me she's quite good. No, I watch her. She's a good soccer player, but COVID kind of put a wrinkle in that thing for the kids this year, like we discussed in the past, and hopefully she can get back to playing shortly. But Leicester City was a 5,000 to one odds to win the Premiership, and the Chelsea, Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, the teams that even I've heard of are always the favorites to win that. And Leicester City came back and they pulled it off. And I got that was a response actually from a longtime listener to the show. He Darcy was he sent me a message on Twitter, I believe, this morning. Well, I did a little research on that. It's unprecedented for them, for a team like that to come and win that. So I don't know if it's it's a season long upset, and they won that. They won the title with games left. It wasn't the last day of the season kind of deal. Like they were a legitimate team that came out of nowhere. So I guess it's an upset, and you read about it like, holy cow, that's an upset of the ages for sure. Like, it's not a one-time deal, but it's right there for sure. So that's my number 4. Thank you for the input on the social media there, Darcy. I really appreciate that. Number 3, I know where I was. It was or where I was the next day, because it was the fight was in Tokyo. But Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson. Tyson was a killer. He would maim his opponents, and guys were scared to fight him. And night in, night out, Tyson would just win in 1 round, in 92 seconds, in 3 rounds. Like, it was just insanity, how he was going through the heavyweight division and was just untouched, and didn't think anyone was ever going to stop him, except Robin Givens, but that's another story. Or Don King, and the way Don King screwed him over. That's another way to stop him. King's the slimiest person in sports. That's my opinion. King is slime. The way he screwed Tyson over and the money he's made off these guys, it's just gross. And you see him smiling in the background with his stupid hair and waving flags. Don King ruined boxing. Boxing was the biggest thing going. It was hands down the greatest thing going. Tyson really, I don't know. Tyson just knocked King out. Anyways, but that's my number 3 in 1990. Buster Douglas was a 42 to 1 shot to win that. The Mariano to 1, Mariano to Billy Martin shot of winning the title. And he did it, knocked him out, and it's still stuns to this day, like the streak that Tyson was on, and how untouchable he was, and how he just didn't have it that night, and and then the fall from grace shortly after that, how Tyson just fell apart right after that with court and rape allegations, and going to jail and everything else, and just terrible story in the way that all turned out. But that's my number 3 upsets of all time. Number 2, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots losing to the Giants in the 2007 Super Bowl. The Eli Manning pass to David Tyree. Manning had 2 great games in his career, and they were both for Super Bowls. That scramble that he had, I think New England was a 12-point favorite going into that game. New England or Giants hung around, ended up winning the game, and the rest is history. Eli's probably, I would think, going to the Hall of Fame for getting 2 Super Bowls. It's stopped the untouchable New England Patriots. I believe it was the same year the Patriots were going to have a perfect season, but then they couldn't get by Eli Manning and the led the New York Giants in Super Bowl. That's my number 2. And number 1 has to be, and I don't think this is disputable. You can try to dispute this one with me. The Miracle on Ice 1980 Olympic team, the Do You Believe in Miracles, the great call from Al Michaels, the Russian team with led by Vladislav Tretiak, Fetisov, Larry, like all of them, like just the names of the Russian team. Mike Eruzione and Jim Craig are the only 2 guys that I can remember playing for that squad for the U.S. What can you say? I remember watching the game as a kid. The blue ice in Lake Placid, New York. I still don't know why the ice was so blue, but the elation. It was during the Cold War. It was tough. The Russians and the U.S. The animosity that were between the 2 countries, and then for the Russians to come, and they were storming through that Olympic tournament. It's a little known fact that the U.S. didn't win the gold medal that day. They had to play the Finns, I think, the next day to lock it down. But the Miracle on Ice I don't think it's disputable at all that is the #1 upset in sports history. If you have some you want to get back to me, there's a bunch of feedback on the social media account. Keep it going throughout the weekend. I enjoy reading them, and it puts a smile on my face that people are following the podcast. We're everywhere you want to be, like I've said in the past: Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Google Podcasts, anywhere your podcasts are, we are there. And now, of course, we're on YouTube as well. We're gonna have shorter segments. We won't put the whole show on because I can ramble a little bit. Speaking of ramblings, Saturdays I put on the social media accounts of Redlinski's Ramblings, just random thoughts that I have accumulated throughout the week. There's 7 per episode, or per post, I guess, or what you want to call it, blog or whatever. But they're on there on a weekly basis. I would like some feedback on those. If you find them entertaining or you find them stupid, just let me know and we can change that up a little bit. But things are moving in the right direction for the podcast. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us so far. Want to discuss anything that we discussed on today's show, please get back to us. Or if you have some topics that you think we should touch on for the show, also get back to us, because we always looking for new topics. Dave's back with us on Tuesday. We on Sunday, the producer, she's finishing up some final touches for some different t-shirt design. They're really sharp looking. Go along with the spring weather. Softball, if we're allowed to play, they kind of go along with that. What we're looking for. Should put the final touches on it over the weekend, and we should have those up on the website tomorrow for purchase, to spread the name of the brand. They're really sharp. Hope you guys. There's going to be 3 different colors, I believe. They're pretty cool. But the podcast went in the right directions. We're at 5,500 listens so far. It's gone up quite exponentially this week. So thank you very much. Just keep listening to the show. Spread the good word about the show, because we think it's really, really good. Whether we're a little biased, but anyways, we talked Sutter. We talked, what else we talked today? Walter Gretzky, the Mount Rushmore Light, and also the top 5 list. Busy show today, short period of time, got it done though. But anyways, take care of yourself, but more important, take care of each other, but more importantly, take care of yourself. If you need you around, keep your stick on the ice and don't swing at the high ones. One of these days, I'm going to get through this thing without screwing that up. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday.